Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Doctor. It's another gorgeous day out here in the Pacific Northwest. Giants outside enjoying it right now. I'm inside making YouTube videos, but that's okay. Today, we got some important things to talk about. We're going to be talking about Agrias. I know most of you guys have been waiting. You're like, Doctor, what the hell? You're throwing out Delita before you're throwing out Agrias, and you are absolutely right. I'm sorry that I relegated the Waifu to tier 2 compared to Delita, but I'm sorry, guys. Delita's my boy. He's awesome, and I am like gonna murder all your waifus with Delita. Let's hop in and let's talk just a little bit about Agrias, guys. She is going to be an Ice Element UR unit with move 3, jump 1. That alone is going to be one of her biggest drawbacks. She doesn't really have any way to increase her movement, increase her jump. We're kind of stuck with it the way it is. Primary job, Holy Knight. Secondary job, Paladin and Cleric. Primary weapon, Sword. Accessory, Helmet, Armor. The usual. Now, she can, and she does, have very high HP. At 2,934, she's the 5th highest unit in terms of HP in the game. She gets an additional plus 200 on top of that. And then for attack, she has 234 with an additional plus 45. And she gets attack plus 20%. So she is going to reasonably have somewhere in the lower 300 tier of attack. Now, her base agility is 53, which is just fine, but she does get an additional plus 8. One thing to know, though, is that one of her passives increases agility plus 12%, so that's only going to affect her base agility. So it's just not going to affect her as much as if she had had a higher base agility, unfortunately. Dexterity and luck is very high. It is 10th highest dexterity and 9th highest luck, which is going to make her a very accurate, very powerful unit. And she has defense and spirit plus 6, just to round everything off here. Now, her mastery ability, there's a little bit of controversy around it, because a lot of people believe that it's going to be all resistances, so that it's going to be slash percent plus 15, magic percent plus 15. And actually, I think that's just a mistranslation on some people's side, because it's actually translated, if you reverse translate it, the same as Odin's card. So it's actually going to be single attack resistance plus 15. So it's essentially like having plus 15 of single attack resistance. Now, Agrias' TMR, Holy Knight Armor, I didn't even bother putting the defense or spirit values on it because it didn't seem important. This TMR, to me, when I saw it, it just screamed vanilla. There's nothing exciting about it. It grants Protect and Shell, which is 25% reduced physical and magical damage for 3 turns. So what? I mean, you could probably equip another piece of armor, another TMR that's going to make a bigger impact on your match than this TMR. And I think that this TMR is kind of a trap TMR. I don't think we'll be seeing lots of people using it. Now, if you do look up in the upper right-hand corner, we do have Kisang's video on Agrias' Limit Break. Her Limit Break is a 4-square attack, either front, behind, left, or right of her. And it does deal 200% modifier attack for 49 AP. That 49 AP is important. And a 67% chance to inflict confusion for 3 turns. Now, I personally think that confusion is not the best status ailment, particularly when you consider that Agrias has a boon of other abilities that can inflict stop and disable, which are going to be significantly more powerful than inflicting confusion at a higher percentage. So I don't think we're going to be seeing Agrias' Limit Break used very much. I think we're going to see her much more focused towards using disable and using stop. Now, in terms of resistances, she does have 5% resistance to slash. She is weak to piercing, 10%, and she has 20% resistance to magic and 5% to blunt. And probably one of the more interesting aspects of Agrias is she does have 50% charm resistance. So for any of those guys who have been, like, remember the flans that we were doing for raid, that charm, annoying as hell, Agrias is going to be able to resist it. And of course, why shouldn't she? It's Agrias. There's a lot of conversation about the new weapon coming out, the Lusaria Konoe Knight Sword. And this weapon's powerful. It comes from the latest Deep Dungeon. You do have to access floor 5, which is going to give you the sword with attack plus 162, magic plus 92, accuracy 20, and it's going to give you slash attack 8, ice attack 8. Now, essentially, this is like getting Excalibur version 2.0. It's going to be a very powerful sword. It's not going to be as powerful as Ice Brand, but it's going to be more powerful for Agrias than any other sword in the game. So it is the second strongest sword. And if you have units that use, for example, Excalibur, or use a sword for accuracy, this is going to be a really powerful weapon for them. Yes, it's not going to have the slash attack plus 15, but it still has slash attack plus 8, and it's still going to be very viable. I mean, even compared to the Assault Nagrarok, it has 162 attack compared to 168 attack from the Assault Nagrarok, and it has more accuracy than the Lionheart, which is at 17 accuracy. So this is a great blade. You're gonna want to get it, and you're gonna be using it, and you're gonna be seeing lots of people around using it as well. Now, let's talk about Agrias's primary abilities here. And I talked about being able to inflict disable and stop. She can also inflict silence. So you can see Big Dipper here, the first attack for 15 AP, is going to be like Agrias's Crush Armor, right? Except instead of lowering the defense of the opponent, it's going to be having a 25% chance to inflict disable. Now, really important note here, because most of her attacks have status ailments associated with them, you're going to want to max out your faith, because that's going to be critical for being able to maximize either the damage to the target, or not the damage, but the percent chance that the status effect is going to take on the opponent. Now, she also has some other abilities besides, of course, Silence Blade and Stop Blade. She has Talisman, which is essentially a magical sentinel. It's going to increase Spirit 45 for 1 turn, and it's actually AoE. So if you know that like Medina's coming your way and you're shit out of luck, you can pop this and reduce that damage by probably about 50% here. She also has Princess Guard of the Knights, which is going to grant a 10% health regen per turn on her and units around her. I think most likely you're going to be disabling this, and you're probably going to be disabling Talisman. I think keeping Big Dick, woo! I think keeping that has to stay in, guys. This is the character review now. I think Big Dipper we're gonna have to keep. I think the Silence, the Muso Lightning Thrust, is going to be so powerful, and it's AoE. It's going to be powerful against Ayakas. It's going to be powerful. I'm sorry, I can't. It's also going to be powerful against Ketones, and of course, Stop Blade, as always, is going to be very powerful. Now, Sub Holy Knight gives some interesting abilities. It has reduces magic damage for 35% for 3 times, and that's an AoE ability. Grants access to Full Break, and it gives quote-unquote I Believe in You, which is an attack and magic 30% buff. And it says it's when attacking male units. I imagine it's just going to be a flat 30% magic and attack buff on a single unit. We'll have to just check in and see how it's adjusted. Honestly, though, I don't see us subbing Holy Knight with Agrias, because she's missing something out of her kit in order to be a really good tank, and that's the enmity buffs, right? Because Warrior of Light and Rain both have enmity buffs currently, so you're probably going to be subbing Paladin most of the time, and having all of the Paladin abilities turned off, except for Taunting Blade and Sentinel. I think that's probably going to be the most common build you're going to see with Agrias. She does have Sub Cleric. I doubt you're going to see her Sub Cleric. Honestly, there are no abilities really that are going to be great for Sub Cleric, except for maybe Anti-Calamity, which is going to nullify Poison, Blind, Sleep, Silence, Paralyze, and Confusion, but that's not going to nullify Stop. And I think Dark Veil from Agrias could potentially be useful in the future against units like Ruin Stern, but really, I don't see the Sub Cleric being useful. Kind of dealer's choice when it comes to Sub Cleric. I don't think many people are going to be doing that. In terms of passives and counters, this is kind of a tough one, because for counters, you do have access to Defense, which is her own counter, which is going to reduce damage by 30% with a 20% chance to proc. Or you have access to Paladin Guard, which is 45% physical damage mitigation 20% of the time. Now, I think Defense, percentage-wise, is going to be stronger, because it has a chance to proc on both magical and physical attacks, which means you're going to see it proc more often than Paladin Guard, and the average mitigation of damage dealt is probably going to be higher than if you set Paladin Guard. Auto Care, screw that, get that out of here. In terms of support abilities, you have access to Chivalry, which is attack plus 30%, Holy Knight's Blessing is going to be defense 12, HP 12%. Keep in mind, this is going to be probably one of the best ones to set, since remember, Agrias has the 5th highest HP in the game. 12% of that is really going to be almost like plus 300 HP. Very powerful. Knight's Faith is going to increase agility 12% and increase spirit 12. I think this is the second one you're going to place because her final passive is going to give 15 spirit. And let's be honest, you might as well take the 12 agility and 12 spirit instead of taking 15 spirit. Now, Chivalry, I can see Agrias as a brawler unit, but I don't see Chivalry being the difference between life or death. I see Agrias more as a survival unit that wants to inflict status ailments on the opponent and take a couple hits in the process. I don't see her being like Delita, perhaps, where you're running up and you're trying to deal the final blow, you're trying to kill your opponents. I see her kind of as the stalling unit almost. Let's talk about cards. Of course, any card is going to be good on her in terms of like Odin and, you know, other things like, I don't know, like Ifrit for attack buff. Leona's Castle is going to be great. I wanted to try and put a little something different. I think this is another highlight, which I talked about with Delita, where Vow of Love is actually going to be really powerful. And I feel like this is the time where Vow of Love is going to make a small comeback with Agrias and Delita. And I think people aren't going to be expecting it. Some other cards are going to be the Lilith card for defense up and slash attack up for the party. And of course, the Whisper card for slash attack and shooting resistance. Again, Agrias has a lot of defenses already, so adding resistances or other defenses are just going to make her more powerful. So overall, do I think Agrias is better than Delita? Well, you're going to have to kind of make that decision yourself. I am going to do a separate video on why I'm deciding to pull for Delita and not Agrias. I think you can't go wrong with her. I think either way, both of them are good units, and I hope you guys are kind of excited to pull for her. Thank you so much for watching, you guys, today, and have a great rest of your day.